A few months ago, we released 2 videos on the Epic Store. The first examining whether the launch of the Epic Store had resulted in better prices for consumers as promised. The second video responded to feedback from the first and also explored Epic's terms of service. You can watch those videos later if you haven't already. Since then, Epic has continued to court controversy for their exclusivity deals, their features and security or lack thereof. In March 2019, a Reddit user observed the activity of the Epic Games launcher and noticed it likes to enumerate running processes on your computer. Tries to access DLLs in the directories of some of your applications. Likes reading about your root certificates and poking at keys that are apparently associated with Internet Explorer and its cookies. He also found information about a hardware survey it was storing in the registry and a tracking JS script that he couldn't make sense of. Daniel Vogel, Epic's Vice President of Engineering, stepped in to explain the function of the tracking was for Epic's support a creator program and to track page statistics. Vogel admitted the launcher sends a hardware survey, CPU, GPU and the like, at a regular interval, but justified it as being in line with their privacy policy. So let's look at that now. We collect some information automatically when you visit our website or use our games, game engines and applications. If a combination of information that we collect does identify you as an individual, we'll treat the combined information as personal information. We typically aggregate the data that we collect automatically and use it in statistical form to determine trends among groups of users, rather than using it to identify individuals. We collect information automatically through technologies such as web browsers, cookies, log files, web beacons, and our backend servers collect usage data transmitted from our games and other software. We use the information for purposes such as modifying or improving features, managing advertising, addressing technical issues, preventing fraud or misuse of our services, and conducting data analytics. The type of information that we automatically collect may vary, but generally includes technical information about your computer, device, hardware or software you use to access the internet or our services, such as IP addresses or other transactional or identifier information for your device, such as device make and model, information about device operating systems and browsers, or other device or system-related specifications. Usage information and statistics about your interaction with our websites, games, game engines, and applications, which may include the URLs of the websites that you have visited, URLs of referring and existing pages, page views, time spent on a page, number of clicks, platform type, the application you used or the game you played, how long you used or played it and when, and other usage statistics. Crash reports, which may be automatically generated when a game or application crashes and includes information about your system and the crash. Information that facilitates a safer and more personalized experience, such as your display name or other user identification provided in connection with your application use or gameplay, saved preferences, game progress, and device identifiers or usage information for authentication and fraud prevention purposes. The location of your device, such as may be derived from your device's IP address. Please note that if certain features on our website are provided by third parties, those third parties may also use automated means of data collection and may record information about your use of our website or others' websites over time. Epic's policy doesn't seem too different from other stores. For example, look at Steam. We collect a variety of information through your general interaction with the websites, content and services offered by Steam. Personal data we collect may include, but is not limited to, browser and device information, data collected through automated electronic interactions and application usage data. Likewise, we will track your progress across our websites and applications to verify that you are not a bot and to optimize our services. In order to provide you with services, we need to collect, store, and use various information about your activity in our content and services. Content-related information includes your Steam ID, as well as what is usually referred to as game statistics. By game statistics, we mean information about your game's preferences, progress in the games, playtime, as well as information about the device you are using, including what operating system you are using, device settings, unique device identifiers, and crash data. We use cookies, which are text files placed on your computer, to help us analyze how users use our services, and similar technologies, for example, web beacons, pixels, ad tags, and device identifiers, to recognize you and/or your devices on, off, and across different devices and our services, as well as to improve the service we are offering, to improve marketing, analytics, and website functionality. Speaking of Steam, the Reddit thread also revealed Epic was interacting with data created by Steam. The launcher makes an encrypted local copy of your localconfig.vdf Steam file. However, information from this file is only sent to Epic if you choose to import your Steam friends, and then only hashed IDs of your friends are sent and no other information from the file. In other words, Epic was copying the Steam file without asking the user's permission. The data will be sent to Epic only if the players wanted to import friends from Steam. As to why Epic was looking at a Steam file, Epic founder and chief Tim Sweeney had this to say. The current implementation is the result of a system that was built quickly and then rapidly modified before launch as the online team identified that we need to authenticate with Steam on the web, in case there were multiple Steam users on the PC, and make other privacy-orientated changes identified by the online team. It's a clunky method that we'll fix, but I don't think there's a privacy law issue regarding data that is purely stored on your computer. So it's not a privacy issue if it's data that's stored on my computer. So if I break into someone's house and steal their shit, I can just be like, I didn't think it was illegal. It's just stored in his house. We don't use the Steam API because we avoid including third-party code in our engine wherever possible, as it often brings its own privacy, security, and licensing complications, though Valve has a fine reputation. You guys are right that we ought to only access the local config.vdf file after the user chooses to import Steam friends. The current implementation is a remnant left over from our rush to implement social features in the early days of Fortnite. It's actually my fault for pushing the launcher team to support it super quickly, and then identifying that we had to change it. Should we go onto someone's computer and just take their files and read the information for ourselves? And then we'll change it if we get caught. How about in those early days of Fortnite, you just thought, we shouldn't take other people's shit. It's funny how companies only want to change things after they get caught. Valve was disturbed by Epic's use of their data and issued this statement. We are looking into what information the Epic launcher collects from Steam. The Steam client locally saves data such as a list of games you own, your friends list, and saved login tokens, similar to information stored in web browser cookies. This is private user data, stored on the user's home machine and is not intended to be used by other programs or uploaded to any third-party services. If the shit's in my house, you don't just break in and take it. This was one of several controversies Epic was embroiled in at the time. In fact, the Reddit post accusing Epic of violating user privacy was a response to a crowdfunded game becoming an Epic exclusive. In this case, Epic doesn't deserve nearly as much blame as the developer. Snapshot Games, the studio behind Phoenix Point, approached Epic about putting the game on their store. Presumably, Epic offered them money to make the game exclusive to their store, and they accepted, much to the outrage of backers who had made their crowdfunding campaign a success. The contribution may have been driven by the developer stating the game would be available on Steam and GOG, and backers would get keys if they wished to receive their game this way. The developers broke this promise when they agreed to make their game exclusive to the Epic Store for a whole year. All pre-order customers and crowdfunding backers will receive a key for the retail version of Phoenix Point, which will be redeemable via the Epic Games launcher. The developer attempted to make amends by offering all backers a Steam or GOG key after the 1-year exclusivity period. What? A 1 year? This did little to appease backers who felt they had been betrayed. The developer wasn't too worried and said to Eurogamer that they don't anticipate more than 5 to 6% of our backers will actually request refunds in the long run. Sadly, Phoenix Point was not the last crowdfunded game to become an Epic exclusive. Mobius Digital's Outer Wilds would follow 2 months later. Shenmue 3 is the most recent crowdfunded title to become an Epic exclusive, and it's also the worst example by far. Not only did they betray their backers by breaking their promise of Steam codes, they are refusing all calls for refunds. It's probable this might make consumers wary of backing crowdfunding campaigns in the future. We might even see future campaigns promise not to turn exclusive upon launch. Or maybe developers will promise they won't go exclusive if they hit a certain tier in the Kickstarter. The same month, Tim Sweeney responded to a consumer dissatisfied with the unavailability of Epic keys on third-party retailers by allowing developers to sell Epic exclusives on the Humble store. Keep in mind, Humble is just one of over a dozen stores that sell Steam keys. Epic still has a lot of catching up to do in supporting key-selling sites, which is evident by the fact that several exclusives including Anno 1800 and The Division 2 are missing from the Humble store. Why is this important? Key sellers compete for consumers with cheaper prices, not so much with revenue terms for developers. Just like Steam, Epic receives no revenue from keys sold on resellers. which set terms more similar to Steam, Green Man Gaming 70% and Humble 75% for developers. If Epic hasn't negotiated exceptions to reseller policy for their exclusives, this nullifies the revolutionary revenue split they've been touting as a primary benefit of their store. No complaints here, since this does not hurt consumers. Quite the contrary, competition between key sellers only benefits consumers, and Epic's decision to work with them is a welcome move. After all those assertions about competition, Epic finally appeared to be coming round to realize that a monopoly is not competition. On the other hand, a cynic might argue this wasn't an altruistic move, but one with self-preservation. Their exclusivity on the avenue of purchase may have come into conflict with EU law, which considers exclusive dealing agreements abuse, whereby a customer is required to purchase all or most of a particular type of goods or service from a dominant supplier and is prevented from buying from others. Though Epic may have given up monopolizing where their exclusives are sold, how those purchased products are downloaded and launched still remains a monopoly. Concurrently, Epic hinted at the Game Developers Conference that they might move away from exclusives in response to the Metro Exodus backlash, about which the head of the Epic Store had this to say: "We don't want to do that ever again." When asked about Epic's future with exclusives in general, he said, "We could go to zero, or we could go to very, very few major exclusives within a given year. We will definitely not be doing them on the scale we're doing them now." This statement was retracted on April 2, 2019 by Tim Sweeney, who had this to say: "We've had a lot of discussions about this since GDC. Epic is open to continuing to sign funding exclusivity deals with willing developers and publishers, regardless of their previous plans or announcements around Steam." The very next day, Borderlands 3 was announced to be an Epic exclusive. Here's a snippet of what Randy Pitchford, the head of the developing studio for Borderlands 3, had to say. "When we look back at this moment, we'll realize that this was a moment where the digital stores on PC became unmonopolized by restricting your game to one launcher. And we're all going to look back and see how change happened and how costs for developers and publishers to be on stores went down and how that value was passed on to the customers." Ironically, Borderlands 3 was one of the first Epic exclusives to be available on multiple third-party key sellers, including the Humble Store, which offers developers 75%, and Green Man Gaming, which offers the same 70% revenue cut that Steam does. Pitchford's assertion that costs for developers and publishers to be on stores went down doesn't hold true on these storefronts. Randy appeared confused when asked about the game's availability on key sellers, and never quite addressed how his point about Epic's 88% term still held up to resellers' revenue share. We'll return to this statement as the bit about passing value onto customers becomes very ironic 1 month later. On April 11th, Sweeney revealed Epic doesn't plan to host third-party forums, but encouraged developers to link to independent forums like Reddit. As with Fortnite, we encourage forums like Reddit Fortnite Battle Royale that are independent of stores and platforms. This is a terrible idea. Communities on Reddit are beholden to the whims of Reddit's administrators and can be shut down for any reason. And often, they are shut down for no reason at all. Relying on a subreddit to be the home of your community is like building on quicksand. If your subreddit gets banned for no reason and you create another to replace it, you will get banned again for ban evasion. Is this a platform any developer should depend on to host their community? Sweeney's apathy towards developing critical platform features is alarming. This is a subject we'll return to in more detail later. On May 1st, the developers of Rocket League, Psyonix, announced that they were officially joining Epic Games. To allay the predictable concerns about exclusivity, Psyonix assured their community Rocket League is and remains available on Steam. However, the statement they sent to the press was a tad different. The PC version of Rocket League will come to the Epic Games Store in late 2019. In the meantime, it will continue to be available for purchase on Steam. Thereafter, it will continue to be supported on Steam for all existing purchases. All existing purchases. Do you detect an implication here? Let us know in the comment section below. Panic spread in the Linux gaming community following this announcement, as they feared Rocket League's Linux version would lose the support it had from Steam. These fears were corroborated by the less than enthusiastic attitude Epic had shown towards Linux. The primary driver of these concerns were early reports of Easy Anti-Cheat dropping Linux support after being acquired by Epic. This was later determined to be a false alarm, but did little to quell the community's concern, as there was another reason they feared Epic might not support Linux like Steam had. the apparent disdain Epic's founder and chief Tim Sweeney had expressed towards Linux in a series of tweets in February 2018, 10 months before he launched his own exclusives. Installing Linux is sort of the equivalent of moving to Canada when one doesn't like US political trends. Nope, we've got to fight for the freedoms we have today, where we have them today. Like the freedom we choose the platform we acquire, download and launch games from. With the exception of first-party platforms, we had that freedom until you came along and bribed publishers to take the freedom away from us. This was a follow-up to a tweet Sweeney had put out earlier. Ransoming access to other companies' products is highly unethical. Sweeney wasn't referring to Epic exclusives. He was referring to Microsoft offering a new power mode to extract maximum performance from your hardware, though benchmarks revealed the difference this brought was marginal at best. Sweeney has a history of criticizing Microsoft for practices he would himself engage in a year or two later. Our previous videos pointed out his hypocrisy in calling out Microsoft for creating a walled garden with UWP and monopolizing game distribution with the Windows Store. Ironically, Microsoft now supports consumer choice, seeing as they're bringing their first-party titles to Steam, despite operating a store they want people to migrate to. If Sweeney considered a new power plan ransoming access to other companies' products, I wonder what he might have called bribing publishers to remove their games off competing platforms if he wasn't the one doing it. Since he was the one ransoming access to other companies' games, this is how he deflected criticism. Please understand that developer livelihoods are at stake in the debate about stores and exclusives and revenue sharing. The companies and the individuals alike. All of their views should be welcomed and respectfully considered. Very well, let's hear what your developers' views are. Except Epic doesn't appear to welcome their own employees' views, as they require that current and former staff sign non-disclosure agreements limiting their ability to speak about the company's operations. Which, to be fair, may be standard practice in the industry. This is why sources inside Epic demanded anonymity when they spoke to the press about their working conditions. We wonder if Sweeney will respectfully consider these views. "I work an average 70 hours a week," said one employee. That's probably at least 50 or even 100 other people at Epic working those hours. I know people who pull 100-hour weeks. The company gives us unlimited time off, but it's almost impossible to take the time. If I take the time off, the workload falls on other people, and no one wants to be that guy. The executives keep reacting and changing things. Everything has to be done immediately. We're not allowed to spend time on anything. If something breaks, a weapon say, then we can't just turn it off and fix it in the next patch. It has to be fixed immediately, and all the while we're still working on next week's patch. It's brutal. I hardly sleep. I'm grumpy at home. I've no energy to go out. Getting a weekend away from work is a major achievement. If I take a Saturday off, I feel guilty. I'm not being forced to work this way, but if you don't, then the job won't get done. I know some people who just refuse to work weekends, and then we missed a deadline because their part of the package wasn't completed, and they were fired, said another source. People are losing their jobs because they don't want to work these hours. Sweeney was right. Developer livelihoods are at stake. I wonder if he was referring to his own company though. Another source said, "I've had friends come to me and say, I can't take this anymore. I've had friends break down in tears. The crunch is constant. We work typically 50 or 60-hour weeks and upwards of 70-hour weeks on occasion," one contractor said. "If I got to the end of an 8-hour workday and I turned to my supervisor to ask if I needed to stay on, they'd often look at me as if I was actively stupid. Officially, you don't have to keep working. But in reality, sit back down, we'll be here for a while. If you did not do overtime, that was a mark against your character. You're on a contract. It could be 3 months, it could be a year. But if you don't do the extra work, it's most likely that your contract won't be renewed." All management wanted was people who are disposable. The situation was, come in and do as many hours as we need you. They put the contractors in a situation where if they don't do that overtime, they know they're not coming back. One senior guy would say, "Just get more bodies." It wasn't much of a conversation. It really was just a, "I hope you didn't have plans this weekend because this is what needs to be done." And if you did have something going on, it had to be serious. Otherwise, it was going to be a negative experience for that person. The managers were very standoffish. When I had some concerns and took them to my manager, I was ignored and the manager never spoke to me again. They just didn't care. When I complained, one of my managers told me to just quiet down and warned me that I'd be let go. It was a very "fuck you, I got mine" mentality, and management did nothing to discourage this. Admittedly, this is not a problem unique to Epic. However, Tim Sweeney shouldn't ask consumers to respect the views of developers when the views he really wants us to welcome are those of the publishers who sell him their games to be his exclusives. Again, why is Sweeney using developers as a shield to deflect criticism about Epic's anti-consumer activities? If you want consumers to come around to your platform, it has to benefit them in some way, a benefit you would tout to them as often as you can. At long last, Epic took a step in this direction with the Epic Mega Sale. Our previous videos argued if Epic was serious about competition benefiting consumers, they would have enticed players to their store with better prices instead of monopolizing where they could acquire and launch their game from. With the Mega Sale, Epic finally started using the carrot instead of the stick with offers that made certain games cheaper than on any other store, largely due to providing an additional $10 off every purchase above $15 out of their own pocket at no cost to the publisher or developer. This is competition. This is consumers benefiting from better prices. This is what Epic should have been doing from the get-go. Imagine if the Epic Store had launched with cheaper prices than anywhere else, instead of the only place you can get the game. Epic would not have been perceived to be using their Fortnite billions to remove consumer choice, but to subsidize consumer purchases. Users on Reset Era calculated Epic paid approximately $2,247,058 to make Phoenix Point exclusive to their platform. If Epic paid over $2 million for an obscure indie game, how much do you think they might have spent on a high-profile AAA title like Metro Exodus and Borderlands 3? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. How cheap could they have made these titles if their publishers were paid not for exclusivity, but to subsidize their customer purchases? Here's an example. Player pays $40. Epic covers the remaining $20 and the publisher gets their usual $60. This would have endeared consumers to the Epic Store and would have given them a reason to choose Epic over Steam, despite Epic's missing features, of which there are many. For one, there's no shopping cart, which is particularly noticeable during a sale, as you have no choice but to buy one game at a time. Usually, the purpose of a sale is to entice you to buy more games, although apparently Epic is an exception. A streamer discovered this the hard way after his account was blocked after buying a whopping 5 games, ranging from $5 to $50. When Game Revolution contacted Epic for a statement regarding the streamer's suspension, this is the reply they received from Epic's senior PR, Nick Chester. This was a result of our aggressive fraud rules. If players run into this issue, they should contact player support so we can investigate. Investigate what? People buying more than 5 games during a sale? Why do you want to burden your customer support with unnecessary cases when they have enough on their plates as it is? This is what one source in Epic's customer service told Polygon. We went from maybe 20 to 40 tickets a day to about 3,000 tickets a day. We were told that we had to work 50-hour work weeks and complete 200 tickets a day. It's very, very exhausting because we had to work really fast. When they announced that, I cried because I was just so tired and exhausted and it just felt like they didn't give a crap. Forcing these overworked employees to investigate consumers for buying multiple games during a sale is pointless and just creates an inconvenience for both the player deprived of their account and customer support whose time could have been better spent on cases that legitimately require attention. Furthermore, Epic's policy requires the user to give a ridiculous amount of information before they process requests. Your public IP addresses, which you can find by searching "What is my IP address" in your internet browser. If you use multiple devices, please include all IP addresses. Date when you created your Epic Games account. I hate that one. How the fuck am I supposed to remember? We have to cross-check it with what's on our record. Of course you know what it is, you got it on your records. I just thought up a fucking username and email and a password. How the fuck am I supposed to know if it happened during a fucking lunar moon cycle or some shit? An invoice ID for any Epic Games purchases you made on the account. Locations, where you made purchases on the account. Does my IP address show that? Original display name for the account. I don't know what phase of my life I was in then. Might have been my experimental phase. Maybe it was Cocksmoker21, I don't know. Last 4 digits of the first payment card used on the account. It was a credit card from 27 years ago or some shit, I don't know. Date of your last login. I know that one. I'm logged in now. names of any PlayStation, Switch, Twitch or Xbox accounts connected to your Epic Games account and the dates they were connected. Epic cites player security as the reason for requiring this information. Oh, and tell us your password for security reasons. Do you think this is a good enough justification? Let us know in the comment section below. None of this justifies locking an account for buying too many games during a sale. If they're wary of accounts that have bought 5 or more games during a sale, maybe they should just mark them as potentially suspicious. Then they could, do a little background check before the suspension. See if there's been any strange activity on the account, like change of email addresses, change of passwords, or anything like that. That'd give them a pretty good indication right away if the account's been stolen. Or even if those 5 purchased games have been sent as a gift to someone else. And then you could, call me stupid, send an email to the account owner and say, "Hey, there was a bunch of transactions on your account. Was this you?" And the guy could reply with, "Yeah, it's me." "Oh, sweet, no worries. Have a nice day." Or am I out of my mind or something? Why hold a sale at all if you don't want consumers buying a lot of games? Is this why Epic doesn't have a shopping cart? They don't want consumers buying too many games? Apparently not, though Sweeney gave a different reason when explaining his store's lack of features. The Epic Games Store has a small feature set because we chose to launch it as soon as we had the core feature set up and running, rather than waiting. And one of the core features was stealing the Steam file with a list of your friends on it. As to a store competing on features alone, we believe that wouldn't be enough to gain traction. Perhaps not, but it is necessary for platforms to be functional, which yours is not. Steam has plenty of features, perhaps in some areas too many, such as shopping carts, mod support, community forums. You really should have given examples of features that you consider excessive and explained how they hurt Steam as a platform. But it would appear you didn't have any examples and were merely trying to spin your store's inadequacies as a positive. Sweeney disagrees. Indeed, he thinks his store doesn't have any inadequacies going by what he said in March 2019. It's nearly perfect for consumers already. Nearly perfect already? Your own roadmap of missing features proves you have a long way to go. There is no hope of displacing a dominant storefront solely by adding marginally more store features or a marginally better install experience. There is no hope of displacing a dominant storefront if your consumers can't buy multiple games at once. There is no hope of displacing a dominant storefront if you suspend accounts for buying 5 games during a sale. There is some hope of challenging a dominant storefront by offering a better experience or cheaper prices. To be fair, Epic seems to have come around to the latter, but publishers want no part in it, proven by several games being removed from the Epic Store until the mega sale has concluded. This is somewhat excusable for games that were not exclusive to the Epic launcher, like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which remains available on Steam and GOG. They didn't sign up for Epic's exclusivity. They just sold their game on the launcher as another avenue that consumers could choose to purchase from. This is not the case with publishers like Gearbox, who signed up for Epic's rubbish by making their games exclusive. Remember what Randy Pitchford said? And we're all going to look back and see how change happened and how costs for developers and publishers to be on stores went down and how that value was passed on to the consumers. The publishers yanked the value away the moment it was passed on to the customers. I'm sorry to say, but the mega sale has shown who the real greedy people are. The developers and publishers. Like I've said before, developers used to make games for gamers to make money. Now, developers make games to make money from gamers. Publishers have no qualms in taking Epic's money to remove their customers' choice of platforms, but they do have a problem taking Epic's money if it subsidizes consumers purchasing their games at no cost to them. Remember, the universal $10 discount was coming out of Epic's pocket. Since Epic would still deliver $60 for each purchase, publishers had nothing to lose from their consumers buying their games at a cheaper price. Some might speculate that a discount before the game is released might devalue the title, even if it's a temporary discount for a sale. A games industry analysis disagrees, stating data suggests sales do not devalue games. If sales actually did this, we would not see a return to baseline or higher demand post-sale. We do. Overall, average sale prices would fall over time as people wait for sales. 2018 game pricing is at its highest point in history. We agree with this analyst. Sales do not devalue games even if they are discounted before their release. The Witcher 3 was one such game, offering a discount as a pre-order incentive. Consumers would get 10% off if the pre-order was their first Witcher purchase, though they would get an additional 5% discount if they owned another Witcher, up to 20% if they had both Witcher Enhanced Editions and The Witcher 2. At 20% off, The Witcher 3 could have been pre-ordered for $48, a cheaper price than Epic's $10 discount for AAA titles like Borderlands 3. Do you think this pre-order discount hurt The Witcher 3? No, The Witcher 3 sold so well it eclipsed some of 2017's biggest releases, 2 years after its initial launch. Remember, The Witcher 3's pre-order discount wasn't subsidized by a third party. The developers had to bear the potential lost revenue from $6 to $12 of each pre-order. This is not the case with Epic's $10 discount. Publishers have nothing to lose as Epic still gives them the full price they set their games at, unless they agree to a percentage-based discount. So what reason would they have to not participate? If devaluation of their product was the publisher's reason for backing out, Epic went as far as to change how their pricing is displayed to clearly reflect the publisher's sale prices, meaning buyers would receive their $10 discount at checkout instead. This should make it clear to the consumer what the game is worth and where the discount is coming from. So again, what reason do publishers have to pull their exclusives from the sale? Here's the statement a 2K rep sent Eurogamer on May 18, 2019. We are working closely with Epic and have temporarily removed Borderlands 3 from their storefront. We look forward to the game being back on the Epic Game Store soon. Games bought during their mega sale will be honoured at that price. It's interesting Epic's exclusivity arrangement didn't prevent the publishers from removing their game off the store. It's ironic to see exclusives taken off the platform they are exclusive to. Epic's paying millions to keep their games exclusive for a significant period of time. Why didn't their agreement mandate the titles remain available for purchase for the duration of their exclusivity? By that token, why doesn't Steam require games remain available for a couple of years after the publishers put them up for sale on the platform? Why didn't Epic negotiate for the right to offer discounts at their expense and at no cost to the publisher? It appears Epic didn't think that far ahead. Case in point, Epic's director of publishing strategy revealed Paradox, the publisher of Bloodlines 2, was not even aware of how the sale would affect their games. Better coordination and communication between Epic and their publishers would have gone a long way in making the sale the success it needed to be. Epic had a great concept, subsidizing purchases to entice customers to their store. It's a shame it was let down by awful execution. It's a shame publishers started backing out of Epic's ecosystem the moment it began to benefit consumers for a change. We hope the mega sale is a turning point in Epic's strategy. We hope Epic will move away from removing consumer choice and continue enticing players with cheaper prices. Subsidizing purchases sets your store apart better than giving consumers no other avenue to acquire the game legitimately. For once, Epic's fortune might help consumers and companies alike. Epic's discount entices more consumers to buy more games while they are cheap, giving publishers a larger audience as well as revenue at full price of each purchase. And Epic gets what they so desperately want: more people on their platform. Win-win. So what's the alternative? Epic is the only launcher you can activate, download, and start the game from. If Epic must have exclusivity, I'd rather it be on cheaper prices than exclusivity on access. Which do you prefer? Let us know in the comment section below. That concludes our overview of the Epic sales scandal. If you like this video, please share it. There is more content like this on the way, so please like, subscribe, and press the bell button so you don't miss out. We have a secondary channel as a backup too, just in case YouTube go crazy with their demonetization, and Vox gets a little too overexcited with their headhunting against gamers. So please, head over there and subscribe to that one too.